Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the stream. I'm Ian Douglas. I'm the author of the tech interview website that you can't even see because my chair's... There we go. Too much stuff here in the basement. How's it going? Welcome to the stream. Did a really late night stream last night to just give away a whole bunch of those 3D printed dragons. We gave away 6 of them last night and had a really good time with that. And so yeah, sorry for the little bit of a late start this morning. Just kind of taking it easy for a little bit. But yeah, we're gonna give away 2 more dragons. As people kind of filter in, I'll start a giveaway, and so let me get that started at least. So I'll close last night's giveaway as complete, and I will go back to giveaways, and I will make a new dragon giveaway. Everybody gets 1 ticket, and they get it for free. Alright, so that is now live. So if you'd like to get a ticket for the dragon giveaway, you can do !enter in chat to get a ticket. And we'll leave it open for a little while. It usually takes people a little while, plus it's Mother's Day this morning, so there may not be that many people dropping by the stream. And so we'll leave this open for a little bit and see who wanders by, see how many people actually enter the giveaway. And then we'll give away 1 dragon to someone in chat, and we'll draw another email address from the email database. So whoever wins in chat, you're going to give me a random number. I'm going to go find their email address, and then we'll go find someone on the email mailing list. So if you're curious what's going on with the giveaway, you can do Bang Dragon. No, was it Bang Dragons? Dragons, plural, there we go. So there's a photo album that you can go see some of the different colors that I've been printing, and there are plenty of them left. Here's a smattering of them, but yeah, I've got probably a dozen or more of them left, and every time I stream in May, I'm going to be giving away at least 1 of these 3D printed dragons on the stream to someone in chat, and then we'll also be choosing someone who subscribes to the email series. So we can do Bang email in chat, and you can read about that. So techinterview.guide/daily email series, or you can just go to the website and look for that on the left panel, left menu panel. You'll see a daily email series, and it's basically 1 email every day for 6 weeks around my thoughts around career preparation and interview preparation. At some point over the summer, I've been saying this since late last year, but sometime over the summer I'm going to be launching a 2nd series, but we're not quite ready for that one yet. So yeah, so we got a whole bunch of these dragons left over, but I've got a bunch of streams left over for the whole month. So I'm probably going to keep printing more dragons. The newest member of the family, as I trip over my dog. So the newest one is a silk copper color, which came out really bright and shiny. I do have others in kind of a gold filament, so I'll show you the difference between the copper and the gold. So these are some of the different colors that we have that we can get these printed in. So this one is the new copper. This is a darker gold, and this is a really bright gold color. But these are the kinds of filaments that I 3D print in. And these all print all in one piece, and as soon as you take them off the printer, they articulate and move, so the hinges all print kind of in place. But yeah, that silk copper came out really nice. So I'm printing the Imperial style dragon as well. The Imperial dragon is this style of dragon. So it's got a little bit of a different head and a little bit longer body. It's a couple inches longer. And this one you can actually pose to stand up. Where the other one, you have to like drape it over something. But the Imperial dragon's a really, really nice dragon model as well. And so if you get... hey Sethy, good to see you in chat. And so if you win the giveaway, Big Jano, thanks for dropping by as well. Go follow Big Jano. Big Jano's a streamer as well. So if you get chosen in chat, you get to choose which style of dragon you want. And then from there, we'll show you like a couple of the colors that we've got left over. And you can choose a color. And then whoever wins, I'll have you kind of help me with pick a random number. And we will draw a person out of the email database. And that person will just get a random one. So no strong preference for them. They don't get to choose which model or which color. They'll probably get one of the smaller dragons. They're a little bit cheaper to ship. So, but yeah, I'm going to send these anywhere in the world. I've got quite a queue of locations. They're going all over the states, at least one to Canada, one to Estonia, one to Africa, one to India, one to London, England, one to New York, one to DC, one to North Carolina, I believe. What do we got? We got Florida, Estonia, Ohio, California, North Carolina, Norway, one going to Ontario, Canada, one going to Rwanda over in Africa, plus like a couple others that I haven't gotten their shipping information yet. So yeah, so I'm going to ship these all over the place. It'll be fun. So my goal is to actually get these boxed up and shipped out on Thursday. And so the box that I had back here that you can see on the desk, that's the size of the box that's going to come in. It's about 8 inches square, a couple inches tall, and it'll be packaged in that and shipped out. It's basically a filament box. So if you do 3D printing, it'll come in a box about, I mean, it's a 3D filament box that you're going to get it in. I'll make sure it's padded and whatever, that the Dragon will arrive safely. So yeah, so these things are literally going worldwide. Last giveaway that I did in December, most of them were domestic. So most of them stayed in the US or Canada. I think I shipped one down to the Caribbean, and I think one over to Europe. But this giveaway, folks are coming in all over the place, which is fantastic. So I love it. So again, I'm Ian Douglas. I'm the author of this website, Tech Interview Guide. I'm generally just here to help people out. If you've got questions about interview preparation, career prep, anything along those lines, you can drop questions in here at any time. We can do, and I've also got like a ton of sort of bot questions and whatever. If you have been in the channel for a while and you've accrued some of those channel points, you can use the channel points to kind of control the lights up here behind me if you want something a little more interactive. If you really want to drop some channel points, you can make them blink. Let's see, what else is going on? Yeah, so last night we had a bunch of gift subs come in, which was really amazing. And people who subscribe to the channel or gift subs, I will 3D print some kind of logo for you up here. So this is Juggling Biohazards. This is Millie Ruru. And we had a handful of others come in, like Father Funk last night, dropped some gift subs. Ethan's dad subscribed as well, and so I'm gonna like 3D print their logo and get that up on one of these tiles. And so I 3D print them and I hang them on like little transparent hooks. So I 3D printed some transparent hooks that look like this. So up close you can see, you know, it's just like a clear plastic, but when it actually sits back there on the light, you know, the light shines through and you can't see it, or not very easily at least. And I do that on purpose because I also stream for work, and I'm doing like a big webinar this week where I'm teaching some stuff to like 1,000 people, and so I have to be able to take these things off the panels. So I'm not like sticking them on the panels on a permanent basis. But yeah, we also had a number of raids last night, which was fun. It was the first time I've had 2 raids. Free Heathen subscribed. Who else came in? A bunch of people were doing like channel point redemptions. Mike Chen subscribed as well. We had Mike as a guest on the stream a while back. And Mike's fantastic as well. You should go follow Generic Mike Chen. I'm going to give him a shout out here. I actually need to go build a shout out command for my bot. So if folks are curious, I'll show you how I build that into the bot. And I'll make it like an admin only, like only I can do it, or only my mods can do it. I'll show you how I might code that up if you're curious. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of hang out on the stream for about an hour, or until my wife gets home. Whichever is last, I think. If I hear her come home, I'll hop offline. So her typical Mother's Day thing is to go help at like a 5K race or a 10K race or something like that. She was really into running, and then she got involved with the actual group that organizes the runs. And so now she goes and helps and like sets up all the decorations and like the starting gate and the finishing gate and the bibs that they were like they call them bibs, but it's the little piece of paper with a number on it. There's actually a microchip in there, so as you cross the starting line and then cross the finish line, it tracks how long it took you. And then it automatically goes into a computer database and whatever. So she programs the little chips and the bibs, and so she goes and just helps out, and she like gives people the bibs and writes down who got which bib number and all that kind of stuff. And then so she'll be helping about and then cleaning up and then coming home. So her Mother's Day is to escape from being a mom, which is cool. Hagu, thanks for dropping by. Thanks for doing Bang Enter. We got 3 people in the draw. We got 6 people viewing, but only 3 of you in the drawing. So feel free to do Bang Enter in the chat. And I will ship these dragons anywhere in the world. So again, just to show them off, this is the latest member of the family. It's a nice silk copper color from Filament 1. I resubscribed to their filament subscription, so you get 1 box of filament every month, and I think it's $20, and it's really nice filament. I really like Filament 1 filament. It prints so nicely on the Mark III, on the Prusa Mark III series printers, on a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. They do have like some sparkly filaments. I've got one example of a sparkly filament here, which is this one. It's kind of a dark red, but it's got a sparkle in it. This one you typically have to print either much hotter, or you have to print with a larger nozzle, because sometimes the glitter can actually get caught in the nozzle and then it clogs. And then you have to go clean it all out and it ruins your print and all that good stuff. So yay. What is the giveaway? So the giveaway are those 3D printed dragons. So if you get drawn, you've got 2 different styles of dragons. You've got this style of dragon, which you can just kind of pose and like put over whatever you like. Or there's this style of dragon. And this dragon, you can actually pose in a way that it'll stand up on its own. And so you'll get to choose which style of dragon, and then from a variety of colors. So I don't have too many of the Imperial Dragons left. I am doing an Imperial Dragon in that new silk copper that you just saw, but it's going to take 35 hours to print. I've got one printing right now in a blue and a silver. I took some pictures of it last night, and I put it in the photo album. So if you do Bang Dragons in chat, you'll see a link to a Google photo album that you can go see like pictures of them. And you'll see some close-ups that I did of the blue and the silver. I've never printed in the blue-silver before, but my hope is that it's going to come out like, it won't be this drastic of a contrast because these are 2 very different colors of a lavender and a gold color. But it'll be like a silver and kind of a medium blue color, and so it won't be this drastic of a contrast. It'll be a little more subtle. It may be as subtle as this red and the gold, where it's kind of hard to see on a camera, but in person, it looks amazing. The belly is orange, and then it goes to a red stripe. So the belly is orange, it goes to a red stripe in the body, and then goes back to orange for the spikes. And that's just how it prints. So I don't paint them, I don't have to assemble them. They literally print like this with that filament, and you take them off the plate, and away they go. You want one? Cool. Well, you're in the drawing, so you got a good chance. But I've also got this email series that you can subscribe to if you're here for career preparation or interview preparation. I've got this whole website, techinterview.guide, that you can go check out. A lot of the advice that I give on the channel is pretty generic in nature, although my background is working in the tech industry, and so a lot of the advice I give is about how to get a job in the tech industry. But by no means do you have to be in the tech industry or want to be in the tech industry in order to hang out here in the channel. We're all just here to help each other out, help each other with resume ideas and application ideas and how to answer certain kinds of questions. Do I have a Discord channel? I do. You can do Bang Discord in chat. You can do Bang Help, and you'll see all the different commands that you can do. And so if you look down here in the bottom corner, you'll see Bang Help, and you can type Bang Help, and you'll see a whole list of commands that you can do. If you hang out in the the channel here long enough, you'll accrue some channel points, and you can use those to redeem them to remind me to hydrate. I joke I have a drinking problem, but it's actually kind of a not nice thing to say. But I've got at any given time, I have like an array of beverages at my desk that are usually like half finished or not yet started. Because when I walk away from my desk, I walk past a fridge here in my basement that I have where I keep drinks and snacks and stuff. And every time I come downstairs, I'm like, oh, I'm thirsty, I should grab a drink. And so I grab a drink from the fridge on the way to my desk, and I get to the desk and I'm like, oh yeah, I've already got 3 other drinks sitting on my desk that I haven't finished yet. But yeah, I certainly don't want to joke about having a drinking problem, because that is a serious concern for folks. But do I drink Red Bull? No. Last night I had a Nas energy drink. I've been watching too much of Loyal Moses' channel. I can't find the mango one, but I tried just one of the regular ones, and it's a little bit like Red Bull. I don't like Red Bull though. It tastes like fizzy cough syrup. But then the Nas one was pretty good, but it kept me awake a long time. I was awake till like 3:30 in the morning last night. protein shakes. I do like my protein shakes, so I like the Premier protein shakes for a good breakfast to get started. But yeah, so we got 4 people in the drawing. We got 7 people viewing. So if you're here and you're just lurking and hanging out, go ahead and hit bang enter. When I do close the giveaway and I draw a name, I will ask that you say something in chat. And so you will kind of need to hang around or at least come back and let me know that you're still around from time to time. So when I draw your name, then you know, like, you'll have the instructions then of how to actually get your prize. So if you're not here to sort of claim the prize, then we'll just redraw and someone else will win. Cool. So yeah, like I said, a lot of the advice that I give on the channel is kind of career related, interview related, how to stand out to a company, like how do you talk about the value that you bring to a company. That's all the kind of stuff that I cover on the channel. And then so that I do that at this time on Sunday, so 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time on Sundays, and then I do 6 p.m. Pacific on Thursday, which is 9 p.m. Eastern time. I used to do the same evening time on Sundays, but I actually had a bunch of people in Europe say like, hey, I want to like come hang out on your stream, but it's too late in the day. And so I thought, well, I'll change it to Sunday morning, so it's like their afternoon, evening over in Europe and parts of Asia. So that way other folks can be included, because I'm just here to help people out. And so anything I can do to kind of help in that regard. And so aside from that, I will also be streaming like occasional live coding where I show people about the Twitch bot that I built, and like how you're doing all these commands that you see over here in chat, how some of them are like static responses and some of them are dynamic responses. Like if you do bang joke, for example, that one doesn't show up in the list, but bang joke will go randomly hit an API and like return a joke. And I want to do the like a weather API, like just because I can. You know, I'm a programmer. I like automating this kind of stuff. You love the leak code grind. Most people don't. And so if you do bang leak code, which you've done, you'll actually see some videos that I made over here in chat on how to reduce that. So if you're hanging out and you're watching this on YouTube later on, here's a link to my YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I really need the exposure and let people know that I'm giving away free career advice. And I've got these videos about how to reduce the leak code grind. So you don't have to grind 500 problems, 600 problems, 900 problems. Like I often coach people. They're like, I've been grinding on leak code for 6 months and I can't find a job. It's like, well, it's not just grinding on leak code. It's understanding how do you break the problem down? How do you understand what kind of problem it is? How do you reach for those strategies quickly? How do you practice those on a rotation so that it hasn't been like a month since you last did a depth first search? Like you should have that in a constant rotation all the time. And last night I kind of went off on a bit of a tangent and a bit of a rant about how the tech interview process is broken from that perspective. There are good leak code problems to give in a real technical interview, but most companies misunderstand the demonstration portion of the interview, where we want you to demonstrate your skill, but most of them will pick an interview challenge which is not applicable to what they actually do as a company. And so what ends up happening, and I was sharing again last night, an experience that happened to me back in December when I was hunting for a job. I was applying at this company and they asked me to do this problem, which was a heap problem where you had to put these geolocation points. They give you a list of geolocation points, like latitudes and longitudes. And then they give you another latitude and longitude as a target. And they say, of that list that we gave you, go find 3 of the closest points to this target location. Or, you know, whatever, like the number of closest points they give you is also a variable amount. And so, you know, they could call it with, you know, find us the 1 closest one or the 10 closest or whatever. And you basically have to go do some kind of calculation, figure out which ones are the closest to that target and return that as a list. That company had nothing at all whatsoever to do with geolocation. And so for me, half of my brain power is trying to solve the problem, and the other half of my brain power is like, why are you asking me this kind of question? This is completely irrelevant to what I'm going to be doing on a day-to-day basis at your job. Why are you asking me to do this? And so it was very inconsistent from that perspective. Like they gave a very bad choice of technical question. And this is very common in technical interviews. Like, you know, they'll be like, hey, Hegu, this guy Ian's coming in, we want you to interview him. You've probably never had interview training, and so you're like, I guess I'll go find a problem on LeetCode that I've done, that I know, and because I've done this, I know the answer, and so I can kind of like tell how well you do. That's typically what happens in a tech interview scenario, and it's unfortunate that it happens that way. A lot of companies don't give training. They don't give training to their interviewers like they should, and it's really, really disappointing. I think more companies need to be better about showing people like how to interview, what kinds of things to watch for, as we call them signals. Like how do you know what is a good signal to watch for or listen for in the interview? If you don't understand what that signal is, you're not going to do a good job interviewing that person, and then you're giving them a bad experience and making them probably not want to come work for your company. So anyway, I went off on a bit of a long rant on that last night, and talking about like how it can change and so on. I need to fix my camera, and I need to install some software for that for a moment. So bear with me for a moment while I install something. It may cause my camera to kind of blink off and come back, so apologies if my camera drops. Mostly they ask questions on DSA. So for those that aren't familiar, DSA stands for Data Structures and Algorithms. And it's a typical kind of thing that you will get asked about in an interview. Yeah, sorry for the locked up camera here. I will get that resolved in just a moment. Let me turn it off, turn it back on. Oh, turn it off. Turn it back on. Oh, it hung. So data structures and algorithms are pretty good indicators of your education level, but not necessarily a good indicator of what you actually know and what you can actually do when it comes to problem solving. Some of them do. Some of them certainly do, but some of them do not. Excuse me a sec. I gotta unplug my camera and plug it back in. I'll be back in like 10 seconds. Gonna work. Come on, camera. Work with me here. Oh, my camera's totally not gonna work now. Let me go see if I can fix the source. Let me deactivate. Go to properties. Activate. There we go. Much better. Well, better in the sense that you can now see me. So let me go fix my color and my exposure. There we go. This is what I actually look like. How about that? Let me go save that setting in the camera. Cool. So yeah, data structures and algorithms. Hey, MakerDeck, thanks for dropping by. Go check out MakerDeck. I was on their stream printing those 3D dragons for the last several days. And they kicked me off. Just kidding. They constantly rotate different people doing different kinds of makes. They've had people doing painting and knitting and lots of 3D printing. Like most of the channel is going to be 3D printing. But really, really great channel. If you just want something to put on in the background, you know, just kind of loops some lo-fi music. It's really great. But yeah, they gotta rotate. So it's not the same people on there all the time. So no, I'm just joking. I'm not upset whatsoever that you rotated me out. It's totally fine. It was just doing the same dragons over and over and over and over again, so I get it. But yeah, we're gonna give away a couple more dragons, so go ahead and hit bang enter, and we'll give it away. So not sure who's actually running MakerDeck. I still have better lights. Yes, I do. And you can redeem your channel points to change those lights. So if you do bang nanoleaf in the chat, you'll actually see some information about the nanoleaf panels. It'll tell you that there's 43 panels up on the wall. And you know, the different settings that you can kind of redeem. Got to get in on the channel points. Yep. Bang read. Read's not a command. So if you do bang help, it'll show you the commands. And there are a couple that I haven't added to the list, like Joke, and Nano. Well, no, the Nanoleaf one is a static response, so that one should come up fine. Nutcracker, it's been a while since your last talk. Yeah, for sure. How have you been? Hope you're doing good. So if we do Nanoleaf, my bot will not allow you to misspell a command. So yeah. So it found the joke and is basically showing you there's 43 panels on the wall, and these are the different effects that you can set. So if somebody wants to do a channel point redemption, I think it's only 1,000 points. If you want to set it to like Boba Fett or the Batman or something like that, and then people who subscribe or gift out subs, I will 3D print a logo of some kind for you and hang it on the wall here. So if you choose to subscribe, and there's Meliruru who really wanted Iron Man, so that one is Meliruru's icon. Right there. So thanks for dropping by, Meliruru. Good to see you. Is there a redemption for the dragon? No, just a giveaway right now. Or you can go subscribe. If you do Bang email, you'll see my email series, and we're randomly drawing someone out of the email database all the time. And then you can also be here on chat. Last night I did talk about, like, if you just want to buy one, you can like PayPal me some money, but it is kind of a gray area, because then, you know, to some visibility, it looks like I'm selling the dragons, and these are non-commercial use. Like, you're not supposed to print these and sell them. And so I don't want to get into like legal hot water and say, oh yes, I'll sell you a dragon for $10. So basically, just for financial disclosure, I'm giving away all the money that I make as a streamer. I don't keep any of the money that I make. Boba Fett. There we go. So yeah, so it's a nice green and red and gold and black color that'll come up on the panel. It looks much nicer in person. Let me turn up the brightness on it a little bit so you can see it a bit better. But all the money that I make as a streamer, I'm giving away, and I'm also going to match the money that I get. So if you subscribe, I get like a portion of that $5. Twitch keeps some of it because we're using their platform. That's a bit too bright. There we go, that's better. You can see those colors a little better there. And so I'm going to match any of that money coming in. And so if you do Bang Money, you'll see kind of a disclosure statement about that. And if you go over to the website, techinterview.guide, you'll see a financial disclosure page where I actually break down, like, here's how much I make from each source, from subscriptions, from Prime subs, from advertising, to the YouTube channel. I make zero on my YouTube channel because I don't have enough subscribers yet on YouTube. I'm close. I need to get 1,000 subscribers. I'm close to 700 right now. And I'm basically giving away all that money to groups who are promoting diversity in tech. That's something that's very near and dear to me. I want to see more diversity in the tech industry. And so I'm going to be giving 100% of that money away that I make as a streamer, but I'm also matching how much money comes in. So if you do subscribe to get, you know, a logo or something on these panels back here, please know I'm not keeping any of that money. Also, if you want a resume review, you can do Bang resume review. Words are hard on a Sunday morning. I'll do them publicly on the channel here if you anonymize your resume with anonymize your name and your email and your phone number and things like that. But otherwise, send me your resume and I'll review that on stream. If you want a private one done, I'll make a private video for you, and I charge $50 for that. But that $50 is also going into that pot. So literally any money I make. So going back to, do I sell the dragons? I'm going to say, like, if you give $10 or more to kind of the diversity fundraiser that I'm doing, I will gift you a dragon. But all of that money is going into that pot, and I'm matching what's in that pot, and all that's going out. And that $10 will also include shipping anywhere in the world. So $10 does not cover the expense of actually 3D printing, boxing, and shipping a 3D dragon. So hopefully they're not going to come after me for anything like that. But it's not like I'm doing like a big Etsy shop and selling them either. So I'm helping people. That's right. That's exactly why I'm here. I've been doing this a long time. I've got opinions and ideas and perspective to share. But I also tell people, don't let my perspective be the only perspective that you listen to. You have to listen to lots of opinions. You have to listen to lots of perspectives. Like, I'm not sure who's on the MakerDeck command or on their channel right now, but if it's Chris, for example, Chris Perillo, I had Chris on the stream, and we were talking about how do you do a LinkedIn profile. And I've got ideas, and I was trying to suggest, like, oh, you could do this, and you could do this, you could do this. And Chris was kind of countering a lot of my points by saying, yeah, I don't want to. Okay, you don't have to. You don't have to take my advice. I've got advice to share. You can take it or leave it. That's up to you. I'm just here to share my perspectives, but I also encourage people all the time, please, please, please listen to lots of other perspectives. I also have a lot of other guests on the stream, and I'm trying to arrange some guests over the summer. It's a little harder to arrange things over the summer because I've got some live events coming up that I have to travel for, and other people are traveling. But I do want to get to a point where I have kind of a regular cadence of people on the stream who come from that diverse background. And if you go check out the YouTube channel, and like, you'll be able to see some of the guests that I've had on here. Now, I did a bad job with representation when I first launched my channel, because the very first time I had guests on my stream, it was 2 other white dudes. And if you kind of go back and look at some of the other people that I've had, they've been predominantly male, or they've been predominantly white. And that's also something that I do want to shift over time, because I do believe in diversity, and I do believe in hearing those other perspectives from other people. I had Jerome Hardaway on here from Vets Who Code, and Jerome's fantastic. Jerome is a fantastic, fantastic person. He and I did not see eye to eye on that stream. We were looking at, we were talking about resumes and how to do resume reviews and different kinds of interview advice, and we did not agree. And it's totally okay. I actually really enjoyed chatting with him on the stream, because it showed everybody that hung out in chat that night that there are a lot of perspectives, and you have to listen to a lot of perspectives in order to form your own. If I tell you how to build a resume, and Hegu tells you how to build a resume, and Meli Ruru tells you how to build a resume, all that advice is going to be slightly different. At the end of the day, you have to build a resume that you want to promote yourself to that company. And so you need to make the choice of how you want to promote yourself and how you want to show that value to a company. And that's entirely up to you. And so don't ever just listen to my advice. Please, I beg of you, don't ever just listen to me. But you can go see all my previous videos. So I put them all up on YouTube. You can go see that link over here. Still learning how to point like a weatherman. So yeah, I do have all my previous live streams up on YouTube, except for last night's. Last night's kind of went off, not off the rails a little bit, but it was really just a giveaway and a little bit of Twitch bot stuff. And so I didn't put that one on YouTube. There were a couple of chat questions that came in, so I may go back and like clip those out at some point. And so I've got other little commands in my chat bot to like mark when I start and end answering questions and things like that. So you are absolutely welcome to drop questions in chat at any time. If you are shy and you don't want to ask something publicly, I also have this anonymous question submission that you can do. And so if you send a whisper to the bot, so click on the bot's username and you should be able to send a whisper, the bot will then retransmit your question into chat. Please don't abuse it or I will shut it off. And that's another thing on my to-do list, is how do I tell the bot, like, hey, ignore whispers for a while, just so people aren't spamming and things like that. But if you want to ask a question and you don't want it to be public, like let's say Hegu has a question, they're like, I don't want to sound dumb by asking this. First of all, you won't sound dumb, because if you've got that question, so does somebody else, and we're all here to help one another. But if you really want to ask something anonymously, you absolutely can. In the past, I've told people like, hey, connect with me on LinkedIn. I've got LinkedIn, I've got, Twitter and so on. Like, you can find all those accounts. I use Ian Douglas 736 in a lot of places. You can connect with me and you can send me direct messages there, but I'm not necessarily going to see them during a live stream. And so if you really want to ask a question during a live stream, the best way to do that is to now whisper to the bot, and it'll show up as an anonymous question in chat if you don't want to ask it where your name is attached. I want people to feel as safe as possible to ask questions and to hear about perspectives and so on. So I'm trying to do as much as I can, shifting my stream times and doing anonymous things and like all of these different ways. And eventually what I want this bot to do as well, because I do have the Discord server, is I've got a whole channel on Discord for anonymous questions. And that's usually where I go, like people that send me direct messages, on other platforms. I tend to grab all those, like I'll answer those questions to the person on that platform, but then I usually grab that question and I'll put it on the Discord channel. And then when I answer those on a live stream, I kind of mark them with an emoji so you know that I've answered them. What I want to automate, what I want to get to, is when I emoji something on Discord, to have the bot like the chat bot that's running right now, have it connect to Discord and say, oh, Ian just emojied that question at this timestamp. Therefore, during this timestamp or that timestamp, that's the question that got asked, and put all that stuff in a database. I've got some other software written right now that if I put all that stuff in a database, I literally run a Python command and it'll go extract that portion of the video. And from that video, it'll then extract the audio and it'll make a podcast audio out of it. And it'll make a shorter YouTube video of just me asking and answering that question. And then, figure out what kind of playlist I want to put it on. And so that's my goal, is to automate as much of that as possible. So if you DM me a question and I put it in the channel, when I answer it and I mark it with an emoji, to have the bot recognize like, oh, you answered that question, here's when and how that question got answered. And even maybe put a response in Discord saying, Ian answered this question on such and such a date on such and such a stream. So you can go to YouTube and find that video. Or ideally, once the bot trims out that video clip and uploads it to YouTube and the podcast, that it can then respond in the anonymous channel to say, this is when Ian answered that question, or here are the actual links to go see that particular question get answered. That's what I want to get to as far as automating this kind of stuff. I want to make my life as easy as hit a button of when did I start answering the question, when did I end answering that question, and have the bot go trim all that other stuff out. So my bot's going to be a very, very busy bot in the future. You just joined the Discord. Cool. Welcome. Appreciate the connection there. Nutcracker asked in chat, how do I deal with the stress of not getting calls and getting rejected? Being a fresher, it does take a toll on mental health for sure. So this is a good example of where I want to start and asking and answering a question. So bear with me. I'm going to throw a marker in chat, and then I'm going to answer the question, and you'll see a little ending marker in the chat as well. So Nutcracker asked in chat, how do I deal with the stress of not getting calls or getting rejected? Being a fresher, which is another term for being a new graduate, it takes a toll on my mental health. I totally get that. When I went on my job hunt in December and January, I got ghosted by a lot of companies, and ghosted is a term that we use that basically says I sent in an application and I never heard anything back, or I had an initial phone call and never got a response after that. And so we call that getting ghosted. You're kind of left behind and you have no idea why. Getting rejected at least is a little bit better, because at least you've heard back from them that they're not moving forward, but just not getting any response is kind of worse. I would say, as far as advice goes for how to stand out, that's a little bit different from giving advice on how to deal with the stress of it. There is a bit of a numbers game, as we call it, for how many applications do you need to put out there in order to get an interview, and then how many interviews do you have to go through to actually get an offer. And everybody that gives advice on that will give you different advice around, you need to apply to 100 companies to maybe get 5 interviews, and of those 5 interviews you may or may not get an offer. Or if you apply for 500 jobs, you're going to do 50 interviews and you can expect 3 offers. It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't work that way. The interview process is really how you're showing them the value that you bring, and it can start with the application. And so if you're not getting a phone call, so if you're applying for a job and not getting a phone call, there's something about your application that is not clearly showing them the value that you're bringing to them. And that value is more than just, I have these skills. You have to show them why those skills are applicable to what it is they're looking for. And so if they have a job post, for example, where they're looking for a Python developer who knows JavaScript, if you are a JavaScript developer who happens to know Python, you need to reverse those skills on your resume. You need to look like a Python developer who also does JavaScript, because that's what they're looking for. The kinds of projects that you put on your resume or on your CV also need to promote the technologies and the things that they're going to care about as a company. And so if you're not getting phone calls, I would start there. How are you presenting that value to a company? If you're applying and you just never hear back, then from a business perspective, I can kind of understand why, because from a business perspective, when I put a job post up, I'm going to get 1,000 people applying for that job. I'm going to get 1,000 resumes, within a couple of days. I'm going to get flooded with people who want a job in the tech industry. And so it takes a long time just to get all those in. It takes time for me to actually go in and search through those results. There's automated software that'll go through and scrape out, information out of your resume and out of your CV and get that into a database in a way that I can go in and I can search for particular terms. And then from there, I need to go say, okay, well, I'm looking for a Python developer who knows JavaScript, get a list of people that match those key terms, and then I have to go through and screen those people. One sec, just. So once I go through and I find like, 10 or 20 people, like I'm just going to go through and ultimately I want to find 10 or 20 people to call. And so I'm going to go through all the search results. I'm going to look over your application. I'm going to look over the resume going, yep, nope. If I pass on your resume, it means I did not clearly and quickly see that you are bringing the value or the kind of skill that I'm looking for that particular job. And so it needs to be really prominent on your resume or on your CV how you're providing that value. From there, then, when I get you on the phone, again, you have to convey, this is how I'm bringing the value, this is the background that I have, this is how I'm going to elevate your team and make your team better. Now it's on you, not just your resume, to promote the kind of skill that you have and that value that you're bringing to their company. If you get rejected after that, then it kind of depends on the rejection reason. Did they find someone else who had more skill or different amounts of skill? Were they looking for someone with experience and you're a new graduate? How much experience do they really want? Things like that. Like, there are a lot of reasons why you can get rejected from a job, and sometimes you get rejected and you have no idea why. Many companies won't give feedback as to why they rejected you. My advice on that is reach back out to the company and don't ask them why you got rejected. What you can do instead is ask them, hey, just out of curiosity, what stood out about my application that you really liked? What did I do in the interview that I did really well? The things that they don't say are maybe things that you could improve. So if I'm interviewing with Hagu, for example, who's in chat right now, and Hagu rejects me, Hagu may not want to tell me like, oh, you didn't handle the data structures and algorithms questions well. But if I say, hey, could you tell me things that I did well in the interview? Hagu's far more likely to say, yeah, you actually communicate really well. You had a good resume, and your projects were really great. Okay, cool. Well, Hagu didn't say anything about data structures and algorithms and the technical challenge that I did. They didn't say anything about that. So maybe that's where I didn't do well in the interview. And so you can ask for feedback on what you did well. And if you get that kind of feedback, then you can kind of determine from that what they didn't say is something that you maybe didn't do as well that they were hoping to find. But many companies won't give that feedback. Some companies won't even give positive feedback. But I think a lot more companies are willing to give positive feedback than the negative feedback. There's a myth out there that you're going to get sued if you give or get into some kind of legal problems if you give somebody feedback and they think it's discriminatory. It actually hasn't happened in a really, really, really long time. So I wish companies would be better about sharing like what you did well, at least. And I think, if I were back in another hiring manager position, I would totally tell people like, hey, you did really well on this part of the process. I'd be happy to tell them what they did great. I may not want to tell them what I didn't like because, again, it could come across discriminatory or prejudiced. And then, like in America, anybody can sue anybody for any reason, whether it actually, has legal standing is, something else. But companies are worried about reputation and stuff like that. And so if you can at least get them to tell you what you did well, then you can figure out what you didn't do well. So if you are getting rejected, I would still ask for feedback. And if they're willing to give you feedback on what you did well, that's how I would approach them. As far as overall, like going back to the theme of your question, how do you deal with the stress of it? It's easy to say like, oh, don't take it personally. It's a business decision. They're just choosing the person that's best for their business. That's true, but it feels disingenuous to say don't take it personally because you're the applicant. Of course you're going to take it personally. You are the person. I got rejected from a couple of jobs that I was hoping to get when I was doing my job hunt back in December. And I was really kind of hoping like, oh, it'd be really great to get a job with such and such a company, and it didn't work out. Some of it was, and one of them was with a company that gives absolutely zero feedback. Like they don't tell you good or bad. Even if you get the job offer, they won't tell you what you did good or bad. In their case, they're just like, nope, but you can reapply. And kind of what I found out after the fact is they have kind of a code of like, if they tell you to reapply right away, that means you actually did really well in all the interviews. It's just that team didn't want to hire you, but you passed everything. And so you could just apply for another team and they'll fast track you and kind of thing. If they say reapply in 6 months, that means you did well on all the technical components, but you didn't do well on like the last sort of culture questions. And if they say reapply in a year, that means you didn't do well in the technical aspect. So again, you have to kind of like pick up these tips over time, you know, from like how soon do they tell you you can reapply. And then from there, you can kind of like work through like a flow chart of if they said this, then it means that, and so on. So, but as far as dealing with the stress, it does take a toll. It absolutely does take a toll when you're applying for a lot of jobs and you really need a job and you're trying to like pay off student loans and trying to get your career started. Getting the first job in tech is extremely difficult. You have to convince a company that you know what you're doing. You have to be able to demonstrate that you have the exact kind of skill that they're looking for in a job. And it's a very difficult kind of thing to do when you're a new graduate. It's very, very difficult. It's the choice of projects that you make, and I've covered this on recent streams, so you can go check those out on YouTube. The kinds of projects that you choose need to be aligned with what that company cares about, because that's what's going to make you stand out. And you're more likely to get a phone call from a company if you can say, you know, I'm building a project very similar to what you do, or I've built a project using technology that your company makes. Here's how I can bring that value to your company. Those kinds of things will really stand out. So you can go watch those other videos on the YouTube channel. So I'm not like giving the same thing over and over again. So that would be, you know, but from a stress point of view, I mean, I don't want to be the person that says like, oh yeah, it's not personal. Or, you know, it's just, you know, they're not saying like, I don't like you, I don't want to hire you. They're just saying you're not the best person that we've found so far for the job, and so we're going to find someone else. And that's a choice that anybody's going to make. But it's the same thing for you. If you were applying at multiple jobs and you got multiple offers, you get to choose, and you need to make the best decision that's right for you and where you want to take your career. And it's kind of the same thing on the business side of it as well. They're just trying to find the best match for them as a company. But it's hard to not take it personally because you really wanted that job, especially if you get through the interview process and then you get rejected, especially if you get right to the end of the interview process and you do all of the things and then they tell you no. It feels extra disappointing. There's no good answer to tell you, unfortunately, around how to deal with that stress. Everybody handles stress a little bit differently. For me, it was a lot of internal reflection. I have like a little digital recorder that I use to record, you know, things that I need to keep track of notes. And so I'll record something and I'll go back and I'll listen to the audio recording. So when I did my job hunt in December and January, I actually recorded all of my interviews. And I went back and I listened to them and you know, based on the question they asked and the answer that I gave and like whether I progressed through the interview or not. But just going back and listening to the kinds of answers that I gave helped me make better answers the next time I got asked a similar question. And so some of it is practice and just being a better communicator, again, about showing them that value that you bring. But from a stress point of view, for me, it was helpful to just go back and reflect on what did I think I did well? What did I think I didn't do well? And then how can I improve that for the next interview that I do? And so for me, it was kind of the recognition of like, yeah, I'm not going to be perfect at this. I'm not going to be perfect at interviewing. Some companies are going to want me, some companies are not going to want me, and I have to be okay with that. I'm making a choice of the kinds of companies that I want to go apply to, but ultimately it's their decision. So those would be like, for me, that's what worked for me. And not to get, you know, really amped up and like disappointed, like, dang, I didn't get that job. There's always going to be some amount of disappointment when you get rejected from a job. But if you can find a way to realize like this is all just an iterative process. I'm going to do a thing, I'm going to get some feedback, and I'm going to improve for next time. It's the same agile process that we do in software development. You build a piece of software, you see how well it works, you kind of do some timing and some debugging or profiling as we call it, to find out like how fast is the software, is there a way I can make that better? Let me go develop it again, get feedback, make it better. and just, it's this constant cycle. And you can take that same approach with interviewing. I'm going to go interview. I'm going to get some feedback, or I'm going to come up with my own feedback on what to do better. And then I'm going to find a way to improve that. And so the next one I do, I'm going to be even better at it. Whether it's data structure and algorithms, type of technical challenge, or answering behavioral questions, you can do that same sort of thing where you're taking or sort of building up that feedback and iterating on that. Sorry, my kids are playing Minecraft at the moment. I don't know how well, like I see that the microphone picks up when they're talking. So I want them to have their fun, but sorry if their voices are picking up. Hey Zooey, good to see you in chat. Zooey shared in chat, the final round rejection always sucks. Yeah, for sure. It took me a week to recover, but I reflected on what I think I did well and think about what I could do better. And I had to let it go. Otherwise that negativity would affect all the companies that followed. It's hard though to say like, oh, just let it go, just move on. Because, if you got really invested and did a lot of research and you're doing a lot of things, especially for companies that want you to do like these take-home projects that take hours and hours and hours, and then they tell you no. It's like, well, now you feel like you just wasted all that time. And for some companies, they want you to do that take-home challenge, and they're literally just evaluating like, does it work? Yep. Okay, we'll move on. Does it work? Nope. Okay, you failed. Like, we're not even going to give you feedback on it, but then they just throw that code out afterwards. When I would do take-home projects like that, I would actually tell people like, hey, when I bring you on site, we're going to continue to work on this software. So keep a copy of it and bring your laptop, because we're going to continue to work on it. I think that makes for a really good sort of continuation of something that they're already familiar with. When it's something where it's a brand new technical challenge, they've never seen it before, it can be more difficult for someone to go from interview to interview to interview, and it's something new and completely different than the last interview that they did. And so one of the things that I would do is say like, hey, like the phone screen would be a verbal problem. And if they passed, I would say, okay, now here's the technical component of that. I want you to go write some code that solves what you verbally designed for me. And then if that worked, then when they came on site, they would continue to work on that same software. And so it was this progressive kind of thing that they would work on throughout my whole interview process. And it worked out really well because it was something they were familiar with. And so you kind of see that stress level come down a little bit. But at the end of the day, yeah, you can still get rejected from a job for sure. Thanks for the reminder to hydrate. Appreciate that. Hey, G&D, good to see you. So Hugu asked in chat, do I know the ACM ICPC? Is that the competitive programming challenge? I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it. I've never done competitive programming challenges. I do know that some people use that as an indicator of like, how good am I as a programmer? And they put that on a resume. For me as a hiring manager, I don't give any credit for that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, well, you're a competitive programmer, but what does that even mean? It means you can do something really, really fast. I'm not necessarily hiring somebody for speed. I want somebody that knows best practices, that can work well on a team, and not, I can crank out code at an incredible rate by myself, just go heads down and like solve a puzzle. That's not typically what I hire for. Every company is a little bit different, but for me, I give no credit whatsoever to competitive programmers. Nutcracker asked, are resume reviews happening? Yes, absolutely. So you can do Bang resume review in chat. If you do Bang help, I think it'll give you the command for it. I think it's resume review. Yeah, so if you type ! resume review, and for anybody else hanging out in chat, we had a kind of an uptick in viewers. Go do Bang enter. We're going to give away a 3D printed dragon. So I've got 2 different styles of dragons that we're going to give away. And we're going to choose one person from chat, and then we're going to go find one person from the email series database. And if you want to find out about the email series, we'll do Bang email. And so you can go subscribe to the email series. And we're going to be drawing someone out of that database as well. So you've got a couple of ways that you can enter. But once you enter and win, 1 dragon per household. But yeah, so you can submit a resume to me. I will do them live on the stream if you anonymize the details, or if you're okay with showing the details. But I usually tell people, like, don't put your actual phone number and email address on there. If you want to put your name on there, that's up to you. But I generally say, like, please don't put your real email address and phone number on a resume that you want a public submission, because these do go up on YouTube later, and I don't want to dox anybody. If you want a private review, I'd charge $50 for them. But that $50 is all going into that pool of money that's going to diversity in tech. And so that pool of money, I'm 100% matching, and all of that money is going out. You can find out more information about that on the website. I've got a whole financial disclosure page where I'm breaking down how much money I have coming in for each of those different things. Hanulak, thanks for dropping by chat. Good to see you as well. Arcs Code, you were definitely in the drawing. So everybody gets one ticket. And so if you do bang enter and it says you've got too many tickets, it means you're already in there. So we'll leave this open for a little while longer. How long have we been running? The giveaway's only been running for 24 minutes, so we'll give it some more time. We'll let some other folks come in. So yeah, if you're interested in a 3D printed dragon, I've got 2 different styles of dragons. So whoever we pick, you'll get to choose which style of dragon you'd like. And then from here, you'll get to choose the color based on what I currently have printed and what I have currently printing on the printers. I have more of these like bright pink ones that are printing. I've got a blue silver one. I actually want to go grab an updated picture of that and put in the photo album. So if somebody wants to do Bang Dragons in chat, you'll see a photo album that you can go see pictures. And I'm about to go take some pictures of the blue silver one and put that in the photo album if you want to go see like a close-up of what that one's going to look like. G&D, have you ever thought of or almost changed careers out of tech totally? Yes, I have, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Let me go take this picture and I'll be right back. All right, we got 3 hours left on the bright pink. We got 13 hours left on the blue silver, and we got 41 hours left on the silk copper. But oh my goodness, this blue silver dragon that's printing right now looks amazing. So I'm about to add those photos to the photo album. So let me get them in there. 4 items added. So if you are on that page, you can refresh that link. I'm going to pull it up here because I have a block of text on there I want to pull up to the top. But if you reload that page, you'll see the new blue and silver filament and what that actually looks like. I did some close-up shots of it. And it is really, really nice. It's a really nice transition from a bright silver to kind of a medium blue, and now it's going back to the silver. So you can kind of see on the top of his legs, it's going back to silver. And so he's going to have some really nice blue and silver streaks across his body. Depending on how quickly it transitions from one color to another. I'm not sure what color the final spikes are going to be on his head. They could be silver or blue or a mix of both. So yeah, so if you're interested in that particular dragon, you can say like, I want the one that's printing right now, and you'll get that one. But yeah, feel free to do bang enter in chat, and yeah, let's chat a little bit about, did I almost get out of tech completely? Yeah, absolutely. I was working at a startup in Santa Monica. I was doing about 90 hours a week for 13 months straight. And I would basically get to a point of burnout, and I would take like a couple of days off, and I would go back, and it would be just as bad. I was always under a lot of pressure to get things working, get things done, and do things quickly. And at the same time, I would ask my VP of engineering, like, hey, I need help on this stuff. And they're like, okay, well, you know, just go ask someone for help for a day or two. And I'm like, no. Like, I need somebody full-time to help me with this software. And they never believed me. They wouldn't listen. And so I ended up doing a lot of this work by myself, and it was burning me out. And so I got to a point where, like during that job, our first child was born. And I was basically writing code up to like the night before we had to go to the hospital, basically. We got home from the hospital like a day or two later, brand new baby, and I got called and they're like, hey, something broke in your software, you need to fix it. And I'm like, no, I trained this other person, I'm on paternity leave. And they're like, no, like, I really need you to like, just take one for the team and whatever is my manager calling. I'm like, fine. I ended up pulling an all-nighter for it because they needed it done after hours where it wasn't going to impact as many customers, blah, blah, blah. And Hagu is asking which page. There's a link in chat that you can go see right here in chat for the giveaway. So just look for the photos.app.google and you can see the photo album. And when I was getting ready to go on paternity leave, I told my manager, like, hey, I need like a couple of weeks off, like got a newborn. He's like, okay, cool. Just train somebody that they know how to like go in, update your software, deploy your software, all that stuff. So I trained somebody, but then my VP didn't trust that person. They didn't like that person. I won't go into reasons why, but I have my suspicions why they didn't like that person or trust that person. But I'm not going to expound on it because I don't want to get into gossip and things like that because I don't know for sure exactly why. All I know is that they didn't trust that person. They told me so on the phone. They're like, no, I don't trust they're going to do a good job. I need you to do it. And so I pulled an all-nighter and then I went to bed. Like I literally collapsed in bed and they called the next morning and my wife answered the phone. And they're like, yeah, can you wake Ian up? Like something broke. And she's like, no, you need to fix this. He trained somebody. You need to get them to do it. And they're like, well, he'd made a change last night and we don't understand what the change was, but it broke, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, don't care. You need to fix it yourself. I conveyed the story in a much nicer manner than she did on the phone because they stopped calling after that. And I had a little chat with my manager afterwards around like phone etiquette. And I'm like, hey, you know, my wife was home with a newborn. We just got home with a newborn. Like I told you I was on paternity leave. You shouldn't have been calling. But that kind of behavior kept up. And so after a while, I just got really tired of it, both physically and mentally exhausted. And I was burning out. Like I was literally burning out on that job. And I went to my management team and I'm like, I'm taking time off. Like I'm taking 2 weeks off and it's not going to be PTO. I've worked so much overtime. I'm taking 2 weeks off. It is not going to be paid. Like you're going to pay me for that time off, but I'm not taking it as like accrued vacation. You owe me this time in lieu of, you know, like all this extra time. And they're like, all right, fine. We'll just tell people that you're working from home and not to bug you. I'm like, no, I am not working. I am not online. You cannot call me. I'm not going to be checking email. Like I am offline for 2 weeks. I'm offline. You will not bug me. You will not call me. And they're like, well, we have to tell the team something. Like we can't just tell them that you're burning out and like you need time off. I'm like, but that's exactly what's happening. And half of them know because I'm telling them this anyway. Like it's not going to be a surprise. I'm taking 2 weeks off. And they're like, fine, take 2 weeks off. And then I found out as soon as I walk out of the building, like, Ian's going to work from home for 2 weeks. Which was funny because I literally worked like 2 blocks from the building, or I lived 2 blocks from the building. And so yeah, it was kind of funny. And like 2 days into that time off, I realized I hate that job. And so like I crafted a resignation letter and I quit. And I was basically telling people at that point, like, you know, I'm just going to go train to be a plumber. I'm going to get out of tech. Like I was so burned out. I was so tired of programming and dealing with this kind of hassle and dealing with startups. I'm like, I'm going to go learn to be a plumber. And I was kind of half joking about like what other skill I wanted to go learn, but I was justifying it like if I got to deal with crap all day, I might as well get into plumbing. Just a different kind of crap, right? But, you know, I would rather do something where I'm making the same kind of money, like plumbers, electricians, like all those folks. Like if you get really good at your job, you make just as much money as you do in tech. Especially if you're doing like freelance and consultant work and construction crews and things like that. You can make some very, very good money in skilled labor. And I'm like, I'm just going to get out of tech completely. I took that whole month of November off. I got a new job in December that was kind of like easing me back into the job. That job ended up being like a bunch of garbage as well, and I've talked about that on the stream. And in California, when you quit a job, you basically keep your benefits through the end of the month. And so when I quit the job at the startup, I quit in early November, so I had benefits in November. Started a new job in early December, so I had benefits, but I hated that job. Like immediately hated that job. It was like they bait and switched me on the job, basically. They told me it was going to be something, and it turned out to be something very different. And so I'm like, well, if I quit before the holidays, those benefits are going to run out at the end of December. So I stayed at the job through the holidays, and my first day back in January, I quit. So then I had benefits through the month of January. And then I got another job in January and started that job in February. And so I never had a gap in like health coverage and so on. But yeah, I almost got completely out of tech at that point. I'm glad I stayed in tech. That was a little over a decade ago. And I've come a long way in tech since then. I mean, looking back at that job, it's some of the best engineering work I've done. And so I'm proud of what I did at that job. And I still talk about the impact of it, how it served up trillions of ad impressions. It was an ad tech company. Served up trillions of ads and generated close to $4 billion in ad revenue for people. And so it had like a really big impact, and it's a really good bullet point to put on a resume. Like I had billions of dollars of impact by building this software. But looking back on the company, it was a very toxic company, and it was mostly the management at the time that was the problem. And it's true what they say. People don't quit the job, they quit their manager. So, hey, Solar 3DP, thanks for dropping by. So I'm giving away more of these 3D printed dragons. Jerry, good to see you as well. Squared Mo, good to see you. Is February the postman? No, this was like a decade ago. This is a long, long time ago. Was I required to be on call? Yeah, basically. So they basically said, like, we're going to give you a BlackBerry, and if it rings, you have to answer it. So yeah, I was literally on call 24/7, like permanent on call, because I was the only one working on this critical piece of software, and my manager refused to hire someone else to kind of work with me on this stuff. Eventually he's like, well, I'll just, I'll make you a team lead and you'll have people working under you and you can train them. But then he would tell me to have them work on other projects since they were too busy to help me on my stuff anyway, because he was putting pressure on them to go build these other things. One of the people on my team was the one that he told me to train while I was out on paternity leave, and then turned around and said, well, I don't trust that person. It's like, well, then why did you let me train them if you don't trust them? Like, you should have told me that. So it was just like the person was a bad communicator. Anyway. Cool, but good to see you. So if you are interested in a 3D printed dragon, go ahead, type ! enter in chat. We got 13 people in the channel. We only got 8 people in the giveaway. It's been running for a little over a half hour. We'll wait a little bit longer. And I got some other questions in chat that I want to get to. Hanulak asked in chat, how do recruiters look on people who come from abroad? So let's go ask that question. So I had a question in chat that said, how do recruiters look at people or evaluate people who are abroad, basically, who aren't in their own country? I think it's a great question. Some companies are more willing to work with people from other countries than other companies. Some companies are very particular about who they will work with. There are also certain countries that other countries are not allowed to do business with for various reasons, and they're typically political reasons. As a hiring manager, I've had sort of what we call offshore teams, which is basically like anybody that wasn't in the domestic United States. And I worked just fine with those teams. Sometimes we would have conversations with the team and say, okay, well, these are our working hours. We would appreciate if your team can also accommodate those work hours so that, we can get on the phone right away if there's a problem with something. Sometimes it would be like plus or minus a couple of hours of time zone. One team I'm thinking of in particular, they were in South America, and they were doing a fantastic job. They were really, really good programmers. They were like 2 or 3 hours ahead of what we were doing in Colorado at the time. And so anytime we would ask them for feedback, like their team would either have to stay like way past dinner hour in order to like accommodate our afternoon meetings, or, they would get up like in the morning and they would ask us questions, but it would be like 5 in the morning here, and we wouldn't even get that email for several more hours, and they're kind of sitting around twiddling their thumbs waiting for us to respond. And so when there's a time zone shift like that, it can make communication a little more difficult. I would say in today's market, a lot more companies are much more likely to work with people from around the world. It's not a guarantee, but it tends to be a little bit easier in today's market to work with people from other countries. But some companies, again, they can't have employees in certain countries. It's because of taxes and political reasons and all that kind of stuff. One thing that you could do to get around that is to build a consultancy business and say, I want to contract with your company and be a contractor for you and we'll do this as like a business to business operation, not as a business to employee operation. So you'll pay me just flat rate of dollars per hour. I'll bill you for my time. I'll send you an invoice. You'll pay me eventually, that kind of stuff. So there are different ways around that. But again, even if you're a consultancy business in that business to business operation, again, you may still be subjected to which countries my company is allowed to work with. If you're in that country, there's nothing I can do to make that better. Even if you go through like another consultancy firm to my company, at the end of the day, I'm still doing business with someone in that other country that I'm not supposed to. And so as a business owner, I have to be really careful about working with people abroad. Now, as a full-time employee, it can be a little bit easier with big companies who already have an international presence. If it's a relatively small company that's based in one other country, working with one employee in an alternate country is much more difficult for them, because they have to look into tax laws and like, can we pay you as an employee? Do we have to pay you as a consultant? How does that work? And they've got to do a bunch more research into the probability and the likelihood of can they even do that. Again, for tax purposes and political purposes and whatever, they have to obey those laws. There's no way that they can just kind of pay you, as we say, under the table, where they're like kind of getting you that money and not really declaring it. They can get into a lot of trouble as a business. And so a lot of companies aren't going to risk that. And so if you are like overseas, abroad in some other country, even if you're like in an adjacent geographic country, they may not be able to do business with you, or they may have reservations and sort of think, do we, are we really going to get into doing business with that other country? And so every company is a little different. The larger the company, though, the more likely they're going to be okay hiring people from another country, though. But the smaller the company, the more they're probably not going to consider it. Now, as far as like work visas and things like that, like if you want to come work in the United States, that's a whole other thing, where there's like a wait list for like the work visas and the green cards and things like that. And some countries have to wait years to like get you that work permit for you to actually come to the United States. Again, some companies they have a little more political advantage for that kind of thing, and they can get those green cards and so on a little bit faster. And so that's, again, like bigger companies sometimes have an advantage over that kind of thing. So I would say if you are an international person and you want to work for a particular company, I would target really big companies. They're far more likely to be able to work with you. They've probably got people in various countries. And then it's just a question of, are they, as a business, allowed to do business with people in your country, as an employee or as a consultancy business in order to get that job? So I would say the larger the company, the more likely you're going to have an advantage there. Then there was a follow-up question from there. There's an option of cooperation with you in the form of consultations. Potentially, yes. But again, as a consultant, you still are subject to like whether they can do business with your business in that other country or not. And they followed up in chat and said, I'd like to work in London, UK to be exact. I come from Poland, so the time zone difference isn't a problem. I'd love to move there, and it's easier to do if you have a job. It was probably easier with the whole EU work permit. I don't follow European politics, so I don't know, forgive me, if Poland is part of the EU. And I know with the whole Brexit thing that the UK is trying to get out of the EU. I don't know if that's actually finished or not. If it's still in effect, you might have an advantage to get on like an EU work visa of some kind, because my understanding with the EU is that it makes it a lot easier to move from country to country and work from country to country. So if you're in Poland and you want to work in the UK, you may have advantages that somebody from, someone in North America might not be able to go there, or South America might not be able to go to the UK, or Asia, or parts of Africa, things like that. They might not be able to relocate to the UK. So again, I don't have information about that specifically. It would be something that you'd have to look into. But again, larger firms, like I'm thinking like the big tech companies, they're going to have a presence in the UK. And they're going to be working with people around the world in different countries. And so they're probably going to be able to accommodate that far easier than like a smaller company. As far as like helping with the work visas and the legal issues and relocating there and the expense of all of that kind of thing. Some companies are going to be more willing to do that than others. So again, it's kind of a case-by-case basis, and unfortunately, I'm not in a position to know all of that about like everything around the world. All right, well, let's go back through chat. I think I missed some other things. Squaredmo's got a good question that I definitely want to get to around negotiations. I think that was the only other one that I missed. G&D says, at this point in your life, if you hit some kind of startup jackpot, would you retire or just move on to something else? I mean, if I literally hit the lottery jackpot, I would probably keep working in some capacity. I like being helpful. I would probably be just doing a lot more like fun coding around the house and more of the automation kind of stuff that I talk about on the stream around, like, you know, when I do these little markers in chat over here to like mark when I start and end answering questions on the stream, you know, doing more of that automation of like, okay, go clip that, go make that video, go automatically upload it to YouTube, and like figure out all the authentication stuff that needs to happen there. I'd probably just be working on that kind of stuff full time, and then showing other people how to do that stuff too. If I had like unlimited money. Startups are not really the jackpot that you think. Some of them are. I've invested in I have worked for 14 or 15 private companies. Some would be considered startups and some are considered like larger size companies. I'm thinking like companies that are not yet public. Some of them have gone public, some of them have not, some of them have stayed private. Of all of those companies, I've invested my own money in 6 of them. 5 of them have paid off. Sorry. 5 of them have paid off. 1 of them has paid off partially. I still own shares, but they did a stock buyback, and so I sold back some of my shares. But I'm still holding shares in that company. But what I made on that buyback tripled my total investment in the stock options in the first place. So let's say I gave them, just using some round numbers, let's say I gave them $1,000 to buy all the stock options, and then they did a stock buyback, and what I was able to sell back to them paid me $3,000. So I already made back the $1,000 that I paid them for all of the options, but I only sold back a portion of them, and I still have all the rest of those options. So that one I consider like a profit either way, because I made more money on what I sold back to them than what I invested in it. The 6th one I've invested in, but they are not at a point as a business where they are big enough to go public or any kind of acquisition deals or anything like that. Am I gonna get a return on that money? I don't know, maybe someday, I hope. I mean, that's the hope when you invest in stock options. You hope you're gonna get a return. Postman, where I'm at right now, they're still a private company. They're talking about going public someday. My hope is to be at that company for several years, and so I want to like vest those stock options, and then my plan is to put that money aside, and then when it's time to actually buy those stock options, I've got the cash on hand, and I will invest that money in Postman because I believe in them as a company. But if I were to just have some incredible windfall, like win the lottery or something, would I quit my job? Probably not. I don't think I would quit my job. I might find a way to do it part-time because I really enjoy like working for Postman or like whoever I'm working for at the time. I like being helpful and, you know, being part of a team and having a team where if I'm just like coding stuff around here at home, I'm by myself. It's like me and the dog, and wait for the kids to come home and like wait for the wife to come home from her job and things like that. So it's like, I'm working alone. Like I would want some amount of camaraderie. And so I'd probably find a way to at least work part-time, maybe do some part-time consulting work or something like that on a regular basis. So, magnificent username guy was one of our winners from last night. Good to see you back in chat. Cool. I do want to get to the other question that we had from Squaredmo. So let me do that one real quick. So Squaredmo asked in chat, what's your opinion on negotiating as a junior engineer rolling into a software engineer with 1 year of experience? Should you always negotiate? Absolutely, you should always negotiate. You are the only advocate for you. No one else is going to advocate for your career trajectory and where you want to take your career. No one else is going to advocate for how much money you make. No one else is going to advocate for your total compensation package except you. You're the only one that's going to do that. You can't ask anyone else to step in on your behalf and say, hey, Thank you for your offer. My friend Ian is going to come in and negotiate on my behalf. It's not going to fly with companies. Companies are like, who's this Ian bozo? Like, we made you the job offer. If we're going to negotiate, we're going to negotiate with you. That said, I'm happy to help you with negotiations and chatting through like how to talk to companies about your value and the value that you bring and how that's worth money and so on. Happy to expand on that at any time with anybody. So if you have a year of experience, absolutely you can negotiate. Once you get that first job in tech and you work there for a year, just about everybody else in the world will hire you. Getting the first job is really hard. I talked about that earlier on the stream. Once you have that first job and you have that initial experience, anyone else is going to hire you. But you do need to understand your value. You need to understand what you're worth as a developer, but also whatever other background you bring. You bring other value to that company besides just the hard technical skill. You're bringing other project experience, other life experience. Maybe you speak another language or can read and write another language. Maybe you've got experience with like a customer support or customer service type of role where you can interact with clients. Maybe you've got business background that you can leverage into what you know. Maybe some of that background that you have, like if you come from a finance background and you're now working as a software developer on finance software, they don't have to train you on why it's important to do finance software in a particular way. And so that's added value that you're bringing besides the fact that you know how to write software. You can also say like, hey, I'm already coming in to this industry with previous knowledge. That's worth additional money. It may not it's not like, oh yeah, okay, well, we're going to double your salary then. It's not going to be something that extreme, but it could be worth 5% more, 10% more of what they're offering, or $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 more per year. So as a junior dev, yeah, you should always negotiate no matter what. Even that first job in tech, you can negotiate. If the company says, oh wait, we don't negotiate, we're going to take away the offer, then it's a bad company. Any company who doesn't want to negotiate can simply say no. The offer's still open, but no, we can't increase that. And then it's up to you. You need to make the best decision for you, especially if you're interviewing at multiple companies and you have multiple offers. If you get to that stage, if you've got multiple offers, you have a lot more leverage. But you never want to lie to a company and be like, oh, I got an offer that's higher than yours. Can you match it? They're going to be like, no, just go take that other offer. Well, if you were lying about having that other offer, now you don't have any offers. You had one offer, now you have zero. And so you never want to lie about having an offer, but you can use competing offers to negotiate a little bit higher. You don't want to be too aggressive about it though, because companies can back out and say, well, just go take that other job then. If it's the only job you've applied for and they make an offer, you can still negotiate. A lot of people think I can only negotiate if I have a competing offer, and that's not true. You can negotiate because you have value. That's your negotiating tactic. Whether you have 0 other offers or 10 other offers, you have value. The fact that you have other written offers from other companies just proves that you've actually got that value, because other companies also want to hire you. But even if you don't have those other offers, it's okay. You can say, this is the value that I bring, given market rates and the experience that I bring and this reason and that reason. And I've worked on this kind of project and I've worked on this kind of team before. Therefore, I would like to ask for this range of salary. You bring value no matter what. And so you don't have to wait to get another offer to negotiate on another offer. As soon as you get that first offer, you can start negotiating on that. When I was doing my job hunt in December and January, I was actually talking to 2 different companies about doing some consulting work for them around like curriculum development. And one of them made me a verbal offer. Said, yeah, we want to hire you. Let's talk about rate. And I'm like, sweet. I now have a verbal offer. And so when I started interviewing with other companies, I'm like, by the way, I have a verbal offer. It's not in writing yet, but I have a verbal offer. Can we speed things up? I'd really rather work for you. And those companies are like, oh my gosh, yes, we don't want to miss out on you. And so they would get me a written offer. Well, now I've got a written offer and a verbal offer. And so I was starting to use that, not to pressure other companies, but just to reinforce like, hey, I have value here. Look at these other offers that I have. You know, this company offered this much, this company offered that much. I like transparency. And so I was always very transparent with companies to say, this company has offered me this much, this company has offered me this much. sometimes as a competitive thing, like, hey, you're also in the same kind of work as this other company and they're offering a little bit more. Can you at least match it? Because I'd really rather work for you, but I don't want to leave money behind. Or, as we say in America, I don't want to leave money on the table. But you don't want to put yourself at a salary disadvantage by taking one particular job at a lower salary, because any raise that you get, any bonus that you get is going to be based on your salary. And so you want to negotiate that as much as possible. So yeah, as a junior dev, you still bring value. You still bring a year of professional work experience. It's not like the same as the 26 years that I have, but you still have experience, and it's still relevant, recent experience. And you can immediately show the additional value and growth that you've done over that year and use that as a negotiation tactic. Absolutely. And I'm happy to help people with wording and phrasing of that kind of thing. If you ever want to say like, hey, how do I talk to a company about that? I'm happy to answer more specific questions on the stream. I'm happy to answer more of that in private conversation if you want to talk about it on the Discord channel. I've got lots of places that we can have that conversation and do it in a private way. Like, we're not going to, say in public, oh, this is the offer that Squared Mo got. Let's break it down and let's, talk about all the details, because I'm not going to do that. But if you want to have a chat with me and want to trust me with that information, I will absolutely keep it secret and not share it with anybody at all. And I'm happy to help you word and phrase, all that kind of stuff, as far as like what to say. And if they say this in response, then you react this way. If they say this in response, then you react that way. The primary reaction is to just stay quiet, let them keep talking, and then say, cool, I'd like some time to think about this. You don't have to give them an answer right away. You can just say, cool, I appreciate that. If you can email that over to me, because you always want it in writing. You don't say, I want it in writing, but you just say, cool, if you can email that over to me, I'm going to take a look through and kind of evaluate what you send over, and I'll get you a decision, as soon as I can. You don't have to commit to a timeline or anything like that. Some companies are going to want an answer within some reasonable amount of time. You can't say, yeah, can I get back to you in a month? They're not going to wait that long. At most, they're going to wait maybe a week. So it gives you a week then of like, okay, well, I've got other interviews lined up and so on. And so again, you're showing the value and say like, hey, I've got other interviews. Like, can I push that week to like a week and a half? Because I really want to wrap up these other interviews just out of respect for those other companies. I do appreciate your offer and I will give you an answer, but I really want to finish up these other interviews. A lot of companies are going to be pretty okay with that. But you have to do it in a respectful way. You can't just say like, oh, thanks for your offer. I wanted this much money. You have to explain why you deserve that money. Like, why do you feel that you are worth that money? You have to be able to explain that to them. But yes, you should always negotiate. There are some companies that say they don't negotiate, especially for entry-level roles. There's one company here in Denver that stands out. When I was a teacher, we would have students say like, oh, I got this offer from this company and tried to negotiate. And they said, no, we don't negotiate. Everybody comes in at the same salary. There are companies that say that just so that you don't try to negotiate and they're just going to offer you whatever. But this particular company, they actually showed data saying, no, everybody comes in at this value. And because we had multiple students go and apply for jobs at that company, we also had historical data to show that, yeah, that company really does hire everybody at the exact same amount of money for salary and total compensation. And so, yeah, you don't negotiate on that because they don't want to give anybody an advantage when they're starting out in their career. From that perspective, I really respect that company. At the same time, if you bring additional value to that company, you are worth more money. But their stance was everybody comes in at the same point. And then once you get hired, then you can continue to prove your worth and your raise could be more than someone else gets as a raise because you have brought more value to the company at that point. And so now internally you are worth more money. But to start out, everybody starts at the same place. There are pros and cons on that. Like most other companies, though, even for that first job in tech or early in your career, they're going to be okay with you trying to negotiate. We usually tell people like, don't negotiate for like $1,000, $2,000. Like you can negotiate like $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. On that first job, probably $5K to $10K is more reasonable. We usually say like, don't try to reach for more than like 10% more. So if I offer you 80,000, 90,000's pushing it. Like if I offer you 80 and you come back and say, I want 100,000, that's a much bigger jump. Now, given market rates and what's going on in the economy right now, like 100,000 is not unreasonable for a starting job in the tech industry. But it really depends on the value that you bring and how you position yourself as bringing that value to the company. Squared Mill says it was an offer for $5 million. I'll write down my value and bring it to the HR room. Cool. Yeah, and I'm happy to help you refine that too if you like. Magnificent username guy. I was wondering about unionizing in the U.S. in this line of work. Is it just asking about unionizing the same as telling them you don't want the job in most companies? So unionization is a little bit of a different thing. Like as a union, you're paying like union dues, then you've got people that are kind of negotiating on your behalf. And that way everybody comes in at the exact same amount of money, everybody gets the same kind of raise, everybody gets treated the same way. And so the idea of that unionization is that there's unity and everybody is treated with equality and equity, as we would say in kind of like diversity terms. Everybody's treated the exact same, no matter who you are, no matter what your background is. Everybody comes in with the same kind of salary, or that everybody's really, really transparent about how much money they're going to pay. And how those raises happen, and how, bonuses and things like that happen, and when raises happen, and salary reviews, and just general reviews and feedback and all kind of stuff. Like they're basically advocating on everybody's behalf. And so the people that are sort of running the union are doing that. There have been a lot of things in the news lately about companies that want to unionize and how the company wants to shut it down because they don't want that. Because it is leveraging power. If you form a union and then everybody walks in and says, okay, everybody on the team wants a 5% raise, that's a huge amount of money to the company that they've got to try to come up with. Now, the company in question that I'm thinking about is Amazon, where like different kinds of groups are trying to unionize within Amazon. Amazon's got the money for it. But they don't want to unionize, or they don't want people to unionize because they want to be able to pay individuals on an individual basis that overall it probably saves them money, as opposed to being a union where everybody comes in at the same amount of money, everybody gets the same raise and so on. And so there have been people in the news that get fired from a job for trying to unionize. There was something I just saw on Twitter like the other day where someone was like, I got unfairly fired from my job because I started talking about unionizing. So it can happen. But I think a lot more companies are going to be respectful about it. If you approach anything respectfully, whether it's negotiation or raise or just talking about the kinds of things you want to do on the team or not do on the team, if you do it with respect, companies are going to listen. It really comes down to communication skill and how you're communicating what you want and why you want it, and how you can work together to make that happen. Negotiations are not one-sided. There's going to be give and take on all those things. Cool. Let's do a giveaway. We got 18 viewers. I got 10 people in the giveaway. So last chance. Go do bang enter. We've had the giveaway open for 1 hour, 1 minute, and 40 seconds. I'm going to keep it open for a couple of more minutes. If you want to go tell some friends to come by, feel free to have them jump in the channel real quick. We'll do the giveaway. And you can do bang enter to get your ticket. Wrenches Woodworks, good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. So my bot looks people up as they chat, and Wrenches Woodworks is a streamer. I actually hung out on your channel the other day. I think someone whose channel I was in, we raided your channel. I know a Golang. How do you deal with companies that sit down at the table and negotiate but are very aggressive? What's in the giveaway? So I have 3D printed these dragons. So I have 3D printed dragons in 2 different styles. I've got this style of dragon, and I have this style of dragon. This one that I have in silver right now, you can kind of pose to stand up. This one, you just kind of have to figure out how you're going to drape it over. So whoever wins, you're going to get to choose the style of the dragon. Then based on the style that you choose, you will have different color options available. I have a lot more of these dragons than the other one that stands up. And then whoever wins, you're going to give me a random number to go draw somebody out of my email database. So anybody that subscribes to my email series, let me go find my chat prompt. So if you want to go subscribe to my email series, it's over here in chat. Basically it's a daily email for 6 weeks on my perspective on interview preparation. But I don't I don't approach those interview questions the same way that most other resources that you'll find online. Most other resources are like, here's the top 50 questions and how to answer them. I kind of take it from like, well, these are the more popular kinds of questions that you're going to face, but here's why we ask this question. Here's what we're really asking. Here's what we really want to know. Like when I say, tell me about yourself, I don't want your life story. I want you to tell me the value that you bring to my company and why I should hire you. That's what I want you to tell me. I don't want to hear everything you've ever done, ever. I want you to narrow that down into a 2-minute blurb about how you're bringing direct value to my company and why I should hire you. And so I kind of approach all the questions in that email series. And so through the whole month of May, every time I stream, we're going to give away one of these dragons to someone in chat. And that person in chat then is going to give me a random number. I'm going to go find someone in my database. And they're going to get an email saying, hey, you've won a giveaway that you didn't even know about. And so come give me your name and your address and I'll email you one of these dragons. Do you need to read the company's white paper for an interview? These are good questions. Let's wrap up the giveaway and then I'll get into these questions. So we got 14 people in the giveaway, so we'll go ahead and we'll close that off. Last chance, you got like 10 seconds. If you haven't done, bang, enter, do ! Enter, get in that giveaway. Last chance. And we will do the giveaway and we will choose a winner. And then that winner, you'll get to choose the style of dragon. And then based on the style, you'll get to choose color. And then we'll get into these questions from I Know a Golang. If that's how you pronounce your username. I'm always curious how people pronounce it, but I've done Go programming for several years. It's a great language. Oh, Nutcracker, you missed out. I just closed it. Sorry. Cool. Let's do the giveaway. Close the giveaway and we will draw a winner. So drum roll, please. And the winner is Squared Mo. Squared Mo, you have won. And I know you're in chat because you were just chatting a second ago. So if you're still there, let me know you're there. And then we'll get into these questions that I Know a Golang is asking because these are great questions. So Squared Mo, you have the choice between the Imperial Dragon or the regular dragon. So you just need to tell me Imperial or regular. And then from there, we will look at choice of colors. So Squared Mo, let me know you're still there. If you're not still there, I'm going to redraw. My bot for Loyal Moses will actually watch in chat when somebody wins. But this chatbot that I have built, I do not have that functioning built in yet. Heartbender, you missed out on the drawing. Sorry. But good to see you. Good to have you dropping by. So I know Golang, you're asking some great questions here. We'll definitely get into your questions here in just a sec. So Squared Mo, where are you at? Let me know in chat which style of dragon you want. And then I will ask you to whisper me your full name and shipping address of where you want me to send this. And I will send it over to you. And then we'll get into these questions from I Know a Golang. Squared Mo. I'm going to give you a few more seconds, and then we're going to move on. We're going to pick somebody else. That's the other thing I want to build into my bot is I want to do like, you know, a 30-second timer, a 1-minute timer or something. Like you got just a period of time to respond, and then the bot's going to be like, time's up. Come on, Squared Mo. You were just in chat a minute ago. Squared Mo, if you can hear my voice, come back to the light. We'll give him a few more seconds. I'm going to go answer one of these questions, and then we'll see if Squared Mo answers. So question in chat, how do you deal with companies that sit down at the let's try that again. How do you deal with companies that sit down at the table to negotiate but are very aggressive? If they're too aggressive, these are all signals of, do you want to go work for that company? If they're treating you this way as an applicant, what are they going to treat you like as an employee? If they're not being respectful, then are they going to be respectful when you're actually an employee there? Those would be signals for me of like, are they being really super hard-nosed about it? But it also depends on what you're negotiating for and why they're reacting in an aggressive way. If they say, we're going to pay you this much money and you're asking for way more money and they come back aggressively and say, hey, like we can't match that. Like we're only going to offer a tiny bit more than what we were initially offering. Again, negotiation is a back and forth kind of thing, but it really depends on how you're trying to negotiate and then sort of see their reaction response to that. if you feel that they're being aggressive, it could be that you're asking for too much. But at the same time, if you know that's your value, then it's okay to walk away. So one of the job offers that I got back in January, they weren't even offering market rate. And so I wrote back and I'm like, hey, for this level that you want me to come in at for this role and the kinds of responsibilities, like this is kind of the minimum range. Like this is the range of the other offers that I'm currently getting. Like, can you at least come up to the bottom of that level? And they're like, well, we can come up to the bottom of that level. We can't go any higher. And we also can't give you any more equity. And I'm like, the company's raised $30 million. There's no reason you can't. You're choosing not to. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me finish up some other interviews and I'll get back to you. And like a week later, they're like, hey, we really need an answer pretty soon. And I'm like, okay, I'll get back to you in a couple more days. And a couple of days came by and I was getting offers that were much, much higher. Like even after they were offering me $135,000, which is a senior level in developer relations and developer advocacy is not market rate. For market rate, the senior level title for the kind of work I do starts at 150 and goes up from there to like up into the 200 range, a little over 200. And I'm like, you need to at least come up to 150. They're like, okay, we can give you 150, but we can't budge on anything else. We can't even give you more equity. Like this is total compensation. This is all we can do. And then I started getting offers that were like way above that. And so I wrote them back. I'm like, thanks, but I'm not going to take your offer. It's way under rate. And they're like, okay, we get it. Thanks. Good luck. And so some companies are just going to say when they can't move or they don't want to move on that negotiation. Some companies are going to be more vocal about it, and some will just say no. If a company says like, no, you're asking for too much, we're just going to pull the offer, then it could be on them that they're just kind of a jerk company and you probably don't want to work there anyway. But again, depending on their reaction, if their reaction is aggressive, it could be because you've kind of provoked that from them. But either way, it's still a bad signal on their part. It's still like, it's not a good look for them to be aggressive about it. But again, I would probably need a little more detail on like, what was the initial offer? What were you trying to negotiate? What was their actual response? Like, tell me that wording. Because especially if it's in writing, it can be hard to infer like what the tone of what they were doing. But also seeing it from the business perspective, I can kind of give a little bit more insight into why they might try to move a particular thing or not. But I know Golang, I do appreciate the follow as well. So I would probably need a little more information to dig in on that a little bit. But my gut check right now is if they're reacting aggressively, it could be because you're asking for more than what they're willing to move on for whatever reason. And then from there, you need to make the decision of like, okay, well, am I okay with that level of aggression, or do I need to like dial that back because that's not, it's not something that I want to really push on, or is that company even a company that I want to work for? Squared Mo, this is your last chance. If we don't hear from you, I'm going to redraw. So I'm going to give you like 10 more seconds. Squared Mo, if you are no longer in chat, I'm going to redraw a different person. Hey, Binary Pug, what's going on? So I'm the author of this website, Tech Interview Guide. I do a lot of career prep and interview prep specific around the tech industry, but a lot of the advice that I give on the channel is pretty generic in nature. So if you're doing any kind of career preparation, trying to change a job, get a job, build a resume, things like that. And in the midst of all of that, I am doing a giveaway of some cool 3D printed dragons. So I have 2 different dragon models. Squared Mo is nowhere to be found. So we are going to redraw. And so let's go find a new winner. Solar 3DP is the winner of a 3D printed dragon. So Solar 3DP, I'm pretty sure you're still in chat. So let me know which style you would like. My wife just came home, so I'm going to wrap up the stream here after a couple more of these questions. Hey, Binary Pug, appreciate the follow. Give you some blinky lights. And a little... so we have 2 different styles of 3D printed dragons. So Solar 3DP, let me know that you're still there at least. And then we've got like a handful of other questions that I do want to try to get to. So Solar 3DP, you were just here a minute ago. Did they go off and like start streaming themselves? Where's Solar 3DP? All these people enter the giveaway and then they bail on me. Last chance, Solar 3DP. I want to give these things away. All right, let's go answer another question. And then So let's see. So I know Golang was also asking, do we need to read a company's white paper for an interview? So there's another question in chat. Do we need to read a company's white paper for an interview? I mean, companies are going to come up with all kinds of research information and topics. You know, you should have some knowledge about the company, depending on the type of role. Like if I'm thinking of a white paper for like DynamoDB, for example, that Amazon wrote, which was then widely accepted as like, you know, building out dynamic databases, and that influenced a lot of other kinds of types of databases. So understanding that white paper can help if you're doing that low level type of database access or building out those kinds of databases, then it's helpful to know. Do you have to go read it just as general knowledge about the company? Probably not, but it will depend a lot on the role that you're applying to and what's important to the company. And so again, as you're researching the company and getting to know people there, it's going to depend a little bit on what do you need to show them about the value you bring. If you want that deep inside knowledge on how to, you know, like really get through like their technical process and the kinds of things that they're building as a company, then yeah, you're going to stand out because you're going above and beyond to find that kind of research and read through that kind of research. You're definitely going to stand out as a candidate. Do you have to? You don't have to, but if you really, really want to stand out, I would think it would be a good option to. Again, if it's a more technical role, like a deep technical role, then it can definitely give you an advantage for sure. So yeah, I think that there are benefits to it. Do you have to though? No. Depending on the role. Just my 2 cents on that. Is it really hard to fix your glasses? Oh, it's really hard to fix your glasses without your glasses. What's up, X90? Good to see you. Yeah, especially I'm into bifocals nowadays, so I have to like look through the bottom to like see things up close. But I also bought like this headset thing with these really crazy magnifying glasses because I wanted to get into like 3D model painting, and I didn't want to have like the giant magnifying glass, so I bought them that they just kind of sit on my ears and like let me see things like really, really up close. They're pretty great. We have a ton of questions coming in. So Solar 3DP, last chance for you, and we're going to redraw a third potential winner for our giveaway. So last chance, Solar 3DP, if you can hear my voice. Cool, let's, I'm just gonna scroll back through. Have you ever had a company walk away from something that you countered without giving a new counter offer? I have not, no. The most I've been told in my career is no, we can't match that. And then I have to make the choice of, do I move ahead anyway and take the offer anyway, or do I just walk away from the company and say thanks anyway? And so I kind of explained like a history with that. The company where I work right now, once I narrowed it down to 3 offers, so I had 5 written offers, 1 verbal offer, I narrowed it down to 3, and they were all in writing. One of them was a director level role, 2 of them were for developer relations. And the job I ended up taking was the lower of the 2 salaries for developer relations. I'm like, hey, could you at least match this other offer? It was only like an extra 10K. And they're like, we already brought you in at the very top of the senior level role. Like the only way that we could raise you above that would be a principal level, and you don't have that level of experience to bring you in as a principal developer relations, developer advocate. And so we've already brought you in at the top of that. And in 6 months, you're going to get a raise. So we can't really bump on that. We can give you 40% more equity. And I'm like, okay, I'll take more equity, because that's already been my plan. Because they're a private company, I do want to invest in them. And so I will happily take additional equity. So that'll be my payoff down the road. So I think of equity as like a paycheck you're going to get someday, maybe. I don't treat it as surefire, like 100% guaranteed money, because no company is guaranteed to stay around. But Solar 3DP is not around, so we're going to go draw yet another winner. Zooey, you won. I know Zooey has had his eyeball on the magenta dragon. And so I have the Imperial Dragon. And I have the regular dragon in that silk magenta, if you are still curious about that color. But yeah, let me know which one you would like, and I will get that out to you. So I know for sure that Zooey is here. Zooey's definitely in chat. So Zooey, let me know which style of dragon, and then if you do want another color, let me know. But I know that you kind of had your eye on this silky pink color. You want the pink imperial? You got it. All right. Done. And then Zooey, I need you to pick me a random number, please, between 1 and 48. And then I need to go find my email database while you're picking that random number for me. So Zooey, give me a random number from 1 to 48, please. And this, basically, I'm just going to go count through my email database. You want number 48. Okay, well, that makes it easy. I'm just going to grab the last person on the list. That last person is here. They are a subscriber. Cool. So I'm going to write down their email address. I'm going to contact them and say, hey, I'm doing a giveaway that you didn't even know about. And then they are going to get a random dragon. Cool. Well, thanks for that. Let's see. So another follow-up question in chat. Tell me about yourself. Does that include personal interests outside of the office that might contribute towards being an asset to the team? Yeah, absolutely. It could. If it's like a fitness company and you're going to go build software for, like a fitness tracking kind of app, and you're also avid fitness, then you can say like, yeah, I understand the industry because this is something that I do as a hobby. That's the value that you're bringing. That's why they were probably interviewing you in the first place, is because they see something about your profile or projects that you've already done where you already stand out in that regard. So anything that you tell them during that whole, like, tell me about yourself is really like, this is all of the value that you really need to care about. At the same time, you can tell them other things like, oh yeah, and I play guitar and I like playing tennis and I like going on long road trips and things like that. May not be relevant to the job, but it's still interesting things for them to know that you're human, that you're not just going to like sit at your computer and code 20 hours a day and have no other life. They do want to know that you're a well-rounded individual and that you do have outside interests. You don't have to go into a ton of explanation and detail about it unless they ask. Like, oh, you play guitar? Cool. What kind of guitar do you play? I also play guitar. Like, and they may nerd out on that for a moment and then say, okay, cool. We got to like bring it back to the interview. And so sometimes it can create kind of a bond between you and your interviewer if you've got common ground on things. This is also why it's helpful to know who you're interviewing with. And so anytime you have an interview, talk to the recruiter about who you're interviewing with and see if you can look up anything about their background. If they are a guitar player and you're also a guitar player and they're like, tell me about yourself. You're like, I love riffing on guitars. And they're like, I also play guitars. In your mind, you're like, I know. That's why I brought that up. You're not going to say that in the interview. Like, oh yeah, I totally researched you and I know you play guitar. So that's why I specifically, because then they're like, oh, okay, well then you're just bringing that up because you want to score points. But you can still score those points by just doing the research about them and then talking about like, oh, this is common ground that you and I have. And then this is the overall like value that I bring to the company. So yeah, you can totally riff on that kind of thing. But it helps if you know who is interviewing you. Some companies won't tell you necessarily who you're going to be interviewing with. And some people don't put a lot of stuff on their social media profiles about like outside hobbies and interests. Like on LinkedIn, for example, I don't do like, oh, I've got a purebred Labrador and I want to get into dog shows and, but I do talk about my 3D printing. I do talk about coding and automation and the things that I do on my LinkedIn. And so, if I say like, hey, tell me about yourself. If you were like, oh yeah, I love like automating things. I'm like, I also love to automate things. And now there's like a better communication and like I feel closer to you as an interviewer and I'm more likely to be favorable toward you. So anything you can do to kind of like find that common ground is beneficial. But if you don't know necessarily anything about them and you're just walking in and you're getting introduced to a complete stranger, that's okay. You can still say like, these are the core values that I have that's that I'm bringing to the company. On the side, I also do a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this. But again, they're not looking for a whole explanation of like, I grew up in Canada and I played ice hockey for 12 years and blah, 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 blah. Well, I played 6 years. If it's a sports company though, I'm totally going to bring that up. Yeah, growing up, I played a lot of hockey. I was really active as a kid. I played a little bit of tennis. I played a little bit of volleyball. I was big into martial arts. In college, less so because I was like going heads down on computer sciencey kinds of things and got into engineering. Now I love hiking and biking and taking my dog for a walk. So, I'm a little bit older male, so I'm not as active as I was as a kid, but I was really into sports. And so I understand the sports mentality and the teamwork and the coaching and all that kind of stuff. And so, again, if it's a sports company, I'm going to bring up more about that part of my background because it is applicable to the company. But again, I'm not asking for every little detail. You've got like a 2 or 3 minute window to explain the value and really answer the question of why should I hire you? All right. Where do we practice interview preparation? So Binary Pug is asking, where do we practice? There's different kinds of practice that you can do. There's definitely like the technical challenges that you need to practice, and the three main sites are going to be LeetCode, Code Wars, and HackerRank. And it's just .com on the end of all of those websites. I've got a bunch of YouTube videos that you can go see about LeetCode specifically, and that will also apply to Code Wars and HackerRank. But these videos were specifically about LeetCode and how you can kind of cycle through different kinds of problems on a regular basis just to keep them fresh in your mind. And then like how to kind of build up that regular schedule of how do you do different kinds of patterns every day and also revisit patterns from previous days, and then how to go learn the strategies for how to solve a kind of problem by writing out pseudocode from other people's answers. So go check out those LeetCode videos. I've got them chapter indexed and timestamped and things like that. So because I was building those videos as part of like a live stream like I'm doing today, and so there are also like just random questions from chat coming in that were not necessarily about the video, and I'm not great at video editing, so I wasn't going to go trim all that stuff out. But I went through and I built in the chapter notes or whatever on YouTube, so you can actually go like jump from point to point and get that. Those would be the three main places to go practice that on your own. Now, I often tell people it's also a really strong advantage to do mock interviews with other people, because you want to do a mock interview with someone who is qualified to give you feedback. And so I'm a big advocate of sites like Pramp and Interviewing.io. And I think I've got chatbot commands for those. There's interviewing.io and Pramp. I believe I got one as well. I think this promo code may still work. I don't know whether Pramp still limits how many interviews you do, but I did some guest blogging for them a couple of years ago, and they gave me this promo code, but I don't know if it's still active or not. But you can try to use that promo code, and it's supposed to unlock unlimited interviews. But I don't know if they're already doing unlimited interviews for people. I don't know. But Interviewing.io is a paid platform. So this one over here in chat is a paid platform. But you're actually interviewing with people who currently work in the tech industry, who give technical interviews at their companies, and so we are very qualified. I do interviewing for them. We are very qualified to give you feedback on like, this is what you did well, this is where you need to work, these are areas where you did really great from a coding perspective, but maybe your communication could be a little better, you need to practice more problem solving. Like, we'll give you very detailed kind of breakdown feedback. Where on Pramp, you're getting paired up with a random stranger who may or may not actually do interviews, and they're just gonna be like, yeah, I liked what you wrote. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't help me at all. Like, tell me something I can do better. And so you have to make sure that you're doing mock interviews with someone who can actually give you feedback. But you don't want to just mock interview on technical challenges. You also want to mock interview on answering behavioral questions like, tell me about yourself, or tell me about a time when. And you want to do those mock interviews with someone who can actually give you feedback on, okay, well, I liked this part of your explanation. You probably don't want to say this kind of thing, or you don't want to phrase it in that way. It can come across really negative. Again, you have to do those mock interviews with someone who is qualified to give you feedback on how to improve. And so find somebody that you can trust in the tech industry, find a mentor, someone that you can talk to about setting up those mock interviews. That would be the best two places to do that. So you can practice on your own. So practice behavioral questions. Like, there's lots and lots of lists out there, like top 50 behavioral questions and top 50 technical questions and top 50 LeetCode problems and whatever. You can go practice those on your own. Once you feel ready, do some mock interviews. And then once you feel ready for that, then go try a couple of real interviews. But when you do real interviews, I kind of hesitate to say this a little bit. You want to throw away some interviews. Your first couple of interviews are not going to be good interviews, but you are going to learn about yourself, and you are going to learn about the process and how you answer things and how you think on the fly and deal with pressure and things like that. And so the first interview you do, you don't want that to be the company that you really, 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 really want to work at. because if you don't do well on that interview, you might have to wait 3 months, 6 months to a year before you can even reapply. You want to get some practice out of the way so that when you do go to that interview, you got everything really polished and you're communicating very effectively when you're giving answers to their questions. It's kind of what happened to me at Postman. I applied at Postman in mid-December. I heard from their recruiter like late December, like between Christmas and New Year's. And I didn't even start interviewing with them until mid-January. Well, between mid-December and mid-January, I had interviewed with several other companies. And so by the time I actually got around to interviewing with Postman, I had my answers more polished and more ready because I actually really wanted the job at Postman. There were like the 3 that I chose. I actually really wanted all 3 of those jobs. I would have taken any of those 3 happily. But as I was interviewing with Postman, I'm like, I really like Postman as a tool. I really see myself in this role for a long period of time. This is really what I want to do. And by then I had already practiced a lot of stuff. And so having those first couple of interviews be just a practice of here's how to actually like go through some actual interviews. So find a couple of companies you really don't care about. If you happen to do well in those interviews and you get an offer, now you've got an offer in hand. Those are the 3 magic words, offer in hand, that you can then use to tell other companies like, hey, I'd really rather work for you, but I've got this other offer waiting. Like, can we speed up your process? Because I really want to get through your process and I'd really rather work for you. I don't want to give up on this offer, but is there anything we can do to hurry up? And if you do it respectfully, they'll do what they can. And then you can always say like, hey, I'm going to talk to this other company and see if I can get an extension on when they want me to respond to their offer, because I'd really rather work for you. So I'm going to go have that conversation while you try to figure out like, can we hurry this up? And you would be amazed how quickly some recruiters can turn around on that and be like, can you interview this afternoon? Like, can we wrap this up by like tomorrow or Wednesday at the latest? Like, we'll get in those last couple of interviews like right away. They will move mountains, figuratively speaking, if you have offers. So yeah, it's definitely worth talking to them about for that kind of stuff. Cool. All right. I think I'm going to wrap up. I think that got to all the questions. I'm going to get this uploaded to YouTube, and I got all these channel markers now that I'm going to go through and I'll actually mark like what the questions were and so on. So yeah, all these little chat commands that are happening over here, it's outputting stuff on another screen for me over here for all those timestamps. So I'm going to grab all of those and we'll get this up on YouTube in a little bit. Thanks everybody. I appreciate everybody dropping by and hanging out for today. Lots of really great questions in chat today. I appreciate that. Let me go make sure that this gets saved somewhere. Like I said, ultimately, I want to get these timestamps marked into a database so that I can do more of that automation. But that's a future Ian problem. Oops. There we go. Cool. So I got those saved. So I'm going to get this video up on YouTube a little bit later today. I'll get those markers in with the questions. Appreciate everybody hanging out. I will not be streaming on Thursday because it's my birthday. I won't be streaming on my birthday. I'll probably stream like some evening before then. So maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on when I'm doing other mock interviews this week. I'm going to try to get a stream in before Thursday because I won't be streaming Thursday night. So I'll make sure that Twitch marks that as not being available. And otherwise I'll be around, and every stream I do, we're going to give away more of these dragons. So Zooey, make sure you send me your shipping address. And I think I also sent you a whisper from my work account too. So let me know if you got that, or at least look for that. And then, we'll go from there. Happy birthday. Thanks. Appreciate it. We'll catch you all on the next stream. So the next one's going to be kind of randomly timed. I will definitely be streaming next Sunday for sure. But this coming Thursday and the following Thursday, I will not be streaming because this Thursday is my birthday. Next Thursday, I got an event. So I updated the schedule over on the website. So if you go to techinterview.guide/streaming, you'll see like an updated calendar of when I'm not going to be streaming at my regular times. I will not be posting on there like the ad hoc kind of things. So if you follow, you'll get notification of when I go live. And every time I go live, we're going to be giving away more of these dragons. So thanks for hanging out today. Thanks for the questions. It was great having some new folks coming in, new followers and so on. Really appreciate new followers. Tell your friends about it. I'm here to help people out and provide this kind of perspective and ideas on like how to get better at interviewing and how to stand out to companies. More than happy to give this knowledge away for free. Everything on the website's 100% free. And like I said, all the money that I get in from like donations and subscriptions and stuff is 100% going out to help increase diversity in tech. And you can go read about that on the website as well. Thanks for hanging out today. Let's go see if there's somebody I can raid. If you've got a suggestion for who we can go raid, let me know. But I'm not actually going to hang out on the raid very long, so I'm going to like raid and bail. Nobody doing software that I follow. Who else is out here? Interviewing a hacker. That sounds fun.
I wish I could tell you that it's better, but
Let's see who else is on. Anybody have any suggestions on who we can go raid? The Zolan. Yeah, so there are a bunch of people doing 3D printing. So when I do career prep, I like to raid into somebody that's doing like software development of some kind. When I'm just doing like the random stream from last night, I'll go raid like whoever. What's this person coding? They're doing some C++, but they don't really talk about what they are coding. We'll go raid them. Handmade Hero, never heard of them before. We'll go meet a new friend. Cool. We'll see folks over there. Oh, we can't chat unless you're a follower or a subscriber. Follower or subscriber only chat. So we will not go raid them. I like to contribute to community. Let's go see who else is coding. Anybody got any suggestions? Last chance. Somebody doing some tensor work and some Python. Sounds good. I hit some ads, so I'm gonna wait for the ad to finish. Gotta wait for a second ad to finish. We'll go see what their channel's like before I raid over there. Oh, you know what? Chris Nova is streaming. We'll go raid Chris. Chris is a great streamer. Writing a book, working on some really cool Go and C. So we're gonna go raid over to Chris Nova. Cool. We'll see you folks over there. Make some noise and chat when you get over there. Chris is a great streamer doing stuff on security and like hacking capitalism and things like that. They've been writing a book. So definitely go check them out. Give them a follow. We'll catch you over in their channel. And we'll see you on the next stream. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.